Last time on Reading Time with Angus, I covered the first 3 books in the Horus Heresy series. I went over a brief overview of the plot, some things I liked and some things I disliked, and today we're going to review book 4 in the Horus Heresy series, called Flight of the Eisenstein by James Swallow. It was released in March of 2007. Flight of the Eisenstein is a direct sequel to Galaxy in Flames and follows some of the human characters from the first 3 books, as well as some new characters from the Death Guard Legion. The book is pretty good overall. It has a cool story and gives some closure to the events of Istvan III in the last book. The human characters from the first 3 books are less annoying and they play a major role in this one, and I overall just enjoyed them a lot more. The book is paced a lot better than some of the other Horus Heresy books, and the dramatic action scenes are pretty fun to read. I'm gonna spoil the plot of the book and go over some of my thoughts. If you don't want spoilers, go to this time. The book follows Nathaniel Garrow, who is the 7th captain of the Death Guard Legion, which is the 14th legion of the Legiones Astartes. We see the Death Guard Legion fight off an alien race, and Garrow fights this alien psyker who spews some not very subtle foreshadowing. After this engagement, Mortarion, who is the Primarch of the Death Guard, announces that they're going to go join the Lunar Wolves, Emperor's Children, and World Eaters in destroying a rebellion on Istvan III. We also see some interactions between Garrow and his fellow captains, Typhon and Grolgor. And here's kind of where a problem with this book comes into play. None of the Death Guard characters, other than Garrow's motivations, really make any sense. Grolgor, who's the 2nd captain of the Death Guard, is just a dick to Garrow the whole book, and they try to set it up as he's not a fan of Garrow's uptight, stoic nature. Garrow does kind of have a stick up his ass. He also doesn't like him because he's from Terra or Earth and not from the Death Guard homeworld of Barbarous. But it isn't really a justified reason as to why Grolgor is such an asshole. Especially considering all of the Death Guard are stoic and uptight. That's literally their archetype. Typhon is just like a scheming jerk who's basically rubbing his hands together like a cartoon villain the whole book, and Mortarion's motivation for turning against the Emperor is just non-existent in this book. I know he has one, but in this book it isn't explained, which makes it a lot harder to get into the drama of this legion, which definitely would reduce the reading quality of somebody who doesn't know Mortarion's backstory, because it really isn't explained in this book at all. Fortunately, the book doesn't really dwell on these moments, and unlike some of the other Horus Heresy books, Flight of the Eisenstein is paced pretty well. We get into the action quick, and the book doesn't take you on a wild goose chase to get to the point of the story. We see the events of Istvan III from Garrow's perspective, and the Eisenstein's escape from the Istvan system and into warp space. It's in this place where most of the book happens. The Eisenstein's Geller fields, which is basically the sci-fi MacGuffins that prevent demons from getting into the ship while they're in warp space, were damaged during the escape, and the crew has to fight off Traitor Death Guard and demons of Nurgle. We see an interesting change in Garrow's character at this point. The human characters from the first 3 are interacting with him, and we see this change in perspective. Nathaniel Garrow in the beginning of the book is, very uptight, stoic, staunch believer in the imperial truth, and we see him opening up to this idea of the imperial cult, the cult of the God Emperor that the human characters are introducing to him. Especially his interactions with Euphrates Keeler, who is the cult's leader at this point, or I guess basically she is their saint. After a After a desperate attempt to reach Terra, the crew of the Eisenstein are saved by the Phalanx, which is the Imperial Fist flagship, and their Primarch Rogel Dorn. I just want to say that I love whenever Rogel Dorn speaks. For some reason, I imagine him sounding like Fuhrer King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know why, but that's just how he sounds in my head, and I love it. Gero and Iketon Cruz, who is the third captain of the Lunar Wolves, who also escaped to the Eisenstein with the human characters, meet with Rogel Dorn and attempt to convince him of Horus's betrayal. Dorn reacts violently at first, but they finally manage to convince him. The last 75 pages of the book kinda lose me, and I'm not really sure if that's my fault for being really tired while reading it, or if the ending is just written kind of silly. I think it's a mix of both. But basically, Rogel Dorn takes the crew of the Eisenstein to Luna, which is just the moon, and he basically quarantines them there for a little bit until he figures out what to do. While there, one of Gero's crewmen who was injured earlier turns into a demon and they fight him. The book ends with Malkador coming to visit them, announcing that they will take actions to destroy Horus's rebellion, and he offers Gero a special job, and the final scene of the book is Keeler and Gero praying together, which is very important. Ultimately, this book finishes the arc of the first three. Malkador plants the seeds for the Knights Errant, and like all the Horus Heresy books, it leans heavily on foreshadowing and dramatic irony, some of which hits and some of which misses. As good as a character as Nathaniel Gero is in the book, and as fun as it is, I can't read. What's my problem? As fun as it is to see some old faces again, I can't help but feel that Flight of the Eisenstein doesn't really accomplish much, other than the last few pages where Malkador basically tells him, yeah bro, you're gonna be my Inquisitor, and the final scene of the book happens. It doesn't really do much to progress the overall story of the Horus Heresy, and it doesn't really stand on its own as an interesting story like some of the other ones do. That being said, I still liked it. It didn't annoy me very much or bore me, and it was definitely worth reading, especially if you liked the first three. If you're going through the Horus Heresy books, definitely check this one out. Thank you everyone for watching this short review of Flight of the Eisenstein. I really don't have an idea for my next video. I do plan on making them a little bit more frequently over the next few weeks. I'm going to continue doing Horus Heresy reviews, maybe a stupid gaming vid, maybe a short Christian video. I really don't know. If you enjoyed, subscribe, leave a like and a comment, and tell me in the comments if you can explain how Chris's dumb card game works, because I've watched a good portion of his recent live streams, and I still don't know how the fuck the game works. Bye.